you know, get to bed, get some nerve pills or something, see the doctor or something. I can't stand it. I'm not sure all the pain.
I'll take you by the, when they get through this, we'll go by the, I'll get you something, settle you down, so you get some damn sleep.
I keep sleeping that like it is. I was damn near crazy.
But yeah, when they brought you out of that damn thing, and when they brought me out, well, I like to know where the hell, you know. Damn, I like to know where the hell got you straightened out, man.
When they brought it, I remember my arm, it just froze out, just like that. I couldn't move it, just like I was stuck in a damn rice. Now, they didn't do me that way, though. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I've never seen one like that before in my life.
You can't make people believe that, though.
I don't know, so you won't believe it out, because I
better wake up and start believing.
Damn right.
I wake up and start believing.
Damn right. Listen, I seen it. I can't figure out the damn door. You see how that door will come in on that side of each other?
Yeah, I don't know how to open it, son. I don't know.
I didn't see no door swing.
I don't know how to open it. I don't know how to
see it on. All right, you see something. And look around, them damn blue lights and them some bitches are just like that, they come out.
Yeah, no, you can't believe it. You can't make people believe it.
I paralyzed right there. I couldn't believe it.
They won't believe it one of these days. They won't believe it one of these days. Might be too late.
And when we got to the apartments, I was asking Charlie, we had talked about not telling nobody other than who he had just told, the sheriff department and all. And I told Charlie, I said, you know, I'm really concerned about having a virus or radiation on us, because I had watched these Apollo missions, and when they came back, they would quarantine the astronauts for 7 days, even from their families, so they couldn't be around them and give them any kind of virus or anything. And the radiation, I was worried about radiation because I knew what it could do. My father worked for the Atomic Energy Commission, and I remember him wearing a badge at all times and them checking it, and the FBI doing background checks on all of us. But anyhow, get on past that. So when I got back, I went to my room, and there was a bathroom. There was a gallon of bleach sitting on the back of the bathtub. So I pulled off all my clothes, my shoes, and everything. I put everything in a paper bag, shoes, clothes, everything. I closed it up. I got in the bathtub. I turned the water scalding hot, the best I could get it. And I poured that bleach all over the top of my head and all over my body. And I rubbed it in. I didn't just pour it on me. I sat there and made sure every quarter inch was covered. And I took that bag that I had to the dumpster that was outside. Now that's how concerned I was about infecting anybody with anything. When I went to bed, I was thinking, I was thinking about the night and what we had done.
Charlie and Calvin had had a harrowing experience that evening, being abducted by a UFO. But something they would find out about decades later is that across the river, Maria Blair and her husband were in a car, and she watched the UFO as it was sitting there and as it was abducting them. She saw that UFO that night, but she also saw something else.
It was October the 11th, 1973. I was just 23 years old. Hadn't been long, been married, and had gone to take my husband down to the boat for him to go out on the boat. We went and sat in the car, and he decided he was just going to take a nap while he was there because he was going to be up all night. Mm-hmm. So I was just sitting there stargazing and looking up at the sky, and I happened to look, I was looking over towards the West Bank and noticed off to the south of Gaucher, there was a blue light appeared in the sky, which I just shook it off as just being a plane, but, just nothing to do. I just sit there and watched it coming in our direction. Mm-hmm. And as it got closer to Pascagoula over to, it started coming down like it was going to land, like a plain wood, so I thought, well, must be a little landing strip over there I never knew about. So when it started coming down, I noticed that the blue light on it kept getting brighter and brighter. And as it got down close to the ground, it just flickered out real bright. And then I noticed a white light appear on the west side of it. And as it was like a door opened up on this craft. And then I sit there, watched that it was just a few minutes. I noticed it, and then the lights just went out on it, and then the blue light came back up again, real bright, and it was real bright blue, and then I noticed it come back towards where where Calvin and them had been abducted, and my husband told me, he said, "Come on, let's me and you take my clothes on the boat." And I said, "Okay." So anyway, when the aircraft started coming down, that's when we were walking across the pier. And that's when we heard a loud splash in the water, which he turned around and he stopped and he looked at me. He said, "What was that?" And I said, "I don't know, what was it?" And he just started walking on off down towards the boat, and I'm left standing there, and I'm wanting to know what it is. So I stood there watching, and just as soon as we heard the splash is when I looked down and I seen it looked like a human in the water. And so, but just as soon as I couldn't really make it out all that good, so I'm not really sure what it was, but it looked, from what I could see, it had a head but no neck, and it just went on. It just went on away, and it was really loud splash, very loud splash. And I turned him, I said, "I don't know what was." I looked out and I could see the water, the waves coming on the water, and that's when I looked down. As soon as we heard the splash is when I seen it in the water. But it was just there for just a few seconds, and it just took off. It just left. And
can you describe what it looked like?
They had a head, they had arms and legs, but the legs looked like they were together, like they were sewed together, like they didn't move. The arms didn't move, and I seen the back of the head, and it was just real fast that I just got a glimpse of it, and then it just went on off in the other direction from the pier. And it had no neck, but it had a head, and it had arms, and it had legs, but the legs, when it was going through the water, it didn't move its arms, its legs, or anything. It just floated, and then it just went on off. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't see it because the water was the water's dirty, and it's hard to make it out. I tried to make it out what it was, but I couldn't make it out that well. But it looked like a person, but it was hard to make it out, and I probably never will understand what it was.
But along with this book coming along, I found out a lot more information that I didn't know. And one was, during the process of writing this book, I called our Skype, Philip, and I told him, I said, I got the privilege of meeting Bud Hopkins one time. "Oh, tell me about it." I said, "Well, he said he was going to hypnotize me." I said, "He never did. But, he tried, and I just couldn't be hypnotized." He said, "Whoa, Bud's dead now." He said, "But he always documents everything he says." I said, "Okay." And it was amazing. Philip transcribed the tape into writing for the manuscript in the book. Well, he just sent me a copy of it. So I just briefly read through the first chapter where Bud was hypnotizing me. And I thought, it started coming back then. I thought, dang, he did hypnotize me. Now, the way that come about, in '93, I took a fishing trip to Cat Island. I told my wife I was going to be gone. I'd be back before dark to fix me a lunch. Well, when I got there, I remember this is close to 11 o'clock, and the tide was supposed to change, and I was going to fish the tide that day. So I got my lunch out, gonna get that out of the way, got me some water, and sat over there on the side, and I laid it down. Well, the next thing I seen, this was 11 o'clock in the morning of that morning. It was 3 o'clock the next morning when I woke up. I didn't know where I was or what time it was, because I still didn't wear a watch or when it was. So I left going home because I figured I just slept a little while and it was dark. My truck had a clock in it, and I noticed it was 3:30 or something in the morning on the next day, and I thought, wow, how do I explain this? But on the other hand, how do I explain the blood that's on my shirt? My shirt was drenched in blood. I had blood on me. There was a note on my truck when I got there. Baby, I'm gonna call the Coast Guard. Where are you? I figured I better load my boat up and get on home. And I pulled up in the yard, and a friend of mine just happened to come over that day. And he said, what's going on? I said, I need to talk to you. I said, I went fishing yesterday. I lost a bunch of time where I didn't know where I was or what I was doing. And I don't know what to do about it. I didn't even remember catching the fish. Or maybe somebody else caught them and put them in the cooler to fool me. He said, missing time. He said, yeah. He said, I know a man that just got through writing a book on missing time. His name's Bud Hopkins. He's at a conference in Tampa, Florida. Now, I didn't know Bud Hopkins from anybody. And so we drove over there, and he drove up to a conference hall. And he said, this is where it is. I said, I'm not going in. I don't want to be around these people involved in these UFOs and abductions and stuff. I don't want them to know who I am. So he went in and he found Bud Hopkins, and he was just about to go on the stage and give a little talk. And he told my friend, he said, well, y'all go to the room and wait on me. And I'll be there when I can get there, just real quick. And I want to talk to him. Tell him not to leave. Please don't leave. So we shook hands. We sat there and talked just a minute. He said, Calvin, let me hypnotize you, and let's find out what's going on. I said, I don't know. I said, Dr. Harder tried to hypnotize me one time before, and I couldn't be hypnotized. He said, let me try at least. So I agreed to let him hypnotize me. Well, I underwent hypnosis, and he was taping the whole thing so he could prove that he was above ground. Well, he taped me, he regressed me back to this time. He regressed me one time to 1973, and he asked me questions about the abduction of 73. Well, I actually pulled information out of that was helpful. One thing, there was a car that was parked there, and I called the tag number out on the car, and during this, I was able to hunt the car down, got a private detective, and actually hunted the car down and see who it was. Well, come to find out, it was two people that was parked out there making out in a car like everybody used to do back in their teenage days. And they was making out, and they seen this, and they cranked the car up. They was actual witnesses, and they hauled butt and got out of there. Well, he recently passed away. She's in a nursing home with Alzheimer's, but she remembered it enough to talk to me, but I had to promise her I wouldn't tell nobody her name, where she was, or anything like that. And I'm not going to do that, because if I tell somebody something, I'm going to keep my word on that. Come to find out, while I was on the island, I went to sleep, and the same, seemed like the same ones that had abducted me, or they looked alike or something, had come back to get me. And I remember this, and the only way I know it's true in hypnosis, as I remember something, I'll tell my wife, and she'll go read read it in the book or look it up or listen to the disc. So my memory started coming back, which it got a flash from Linda Moulton Howe when she started asking some questions. And I just kind of backed off and didn't want to listen to what was said or done, because I didn't want nobody putting words in my mind that wasn't there.